Welcome back, Canonites, for another Inside Infinite. Sorry I'm late on this one, I didn't expect it to drop on a Friday, but well, here we are. This issue is all about flighting, what various teams are looking for during said flight, and finally, news that the flight could start as soon as next weekend. So, let's dive in. The month's article starts by laying out what a flight is, how it differs from the betas of previous games, and what 343 is looking to get out of it. The upcoming flight, or technical preview, is a slice of the game released to a select part of the public with the expressed goal of gaining valuable feedback on functionality, bugs, and etc. It's further along than an alpha build, but not quite the overall completeness, the expectations of polished stability and market implications and more that a traditional beta would imply. And as we've seen from the MCC flights and heard from 343, flighting will continue past launch as new features come to Infinite. With these flights, 343 hopes to test the game's stability across different hardware specs, an incredibly important matter given that Infinite will be the first Halo title to simultaneously release on console and PC, online service making sure matchmaking, server scaling, stats, challenges, battle pass progression, and more are functioning properly, and the Halo Insider / Waypoint vNext functionality. All that on top of general feedback, of course, on sandbox balancing, how fun the game is, how people respond to the UI, and all the changes Infinite is bringing to the table. Now, I could spend a whole lot of time listing off all the specifics 343 are looking for from this flight, such as matchmaking success, how often games crash, how different hardware affects things, etc., etc. This article dives into a ton of these details with members of the live team, test team, engineering, and more, along with the tools that they use for this. Suffice it to say, however, that 343 have tons of hooks in this flight that they're going to use to determine how the game is functioning in real-world tests, and looking for new bugs, glitches, and issues, be those detected by their integrated systems or reported by users. And if you do happen to end up with an invite for the technical preview, you'll want to take note of any bugs and issues you encounter, reporting them on Halo's support website. If you haven't been a part of the MCC flights these last few years, or just haven't reported bugs for MCC before, there is a dedicated support website, support.halowaypoint.com, for players to report issues for the game. This reporting is invaluable for 343, as it helps add context to the raw data that they'll receive from their other tools, scale, impact, severity, and more. So if you get in, be sure to report any and all issues. After flighting, user research sends out surveys to gather more direct feedback. The focus areas including core gameplay, map design and flow, game type design, UI feedback, and more. So post-flight, be sure to keep an eye on your email and fill out those surveys. They are your chance to give more direct feedback on elements of the game, what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to see changed. And that is, again, invaluable, not just for 343, but for us in the community. And of course, if you want in, you'll want to make sure that your Halo Insider profile is completely filled out. To do that, go to halowaypoint.com, click Community from the tabs along the top, and select Halo Insider from the dropdown. On the Insider page, select Sign Up and make sure that all categories are green, though feel free to opt out of PC or console flighting depending on your preferences. Make sure everything else, though, is green. After a flight is complete and bug reports and surveys are received, 343 will dive into all the accumulated data and create a roadmap for how to utilize that feedback. A major goal for 343 with Infinite overall, and this flighting specifically, is transparency. After feedback has been analyzed, 343 notes that as they take action, they will communicate with the community about what they will and won't change as a result, and perhaps more importantly, why they will or won't make certain changes. Maybe things can't be done before launch, maybe it doesn't fit into 343's goals for the game, or any other number of reasons. Whatever those reasons are, however, I'm very excited that 343 will work to inform players as much as possible about their decisions and the reasons behind them. We'll have to wait and see a bit to fully understand the scope of how that will manifest, but I'm excited to see how seriously 343 is taking this idea. Now, let's get into the real reason y'all are here, the actual content of the upcoming flight. This first flight will focus on a key new feature for Halo Infinite, bots. In Arena, players will match together against a team of bots. In the new Academy mode, players will be able to test out Halo Infinite's weapon offering, or a degree of it, in a controlled environment against bots. And beyond that, 343 will of course be seeking feedback on the previously mentioned aspects of the game, maps, modes, menu, Battle Pass UI, and the new Waypoint experience on web, iOS, and Android. The flight will feature standard multiplayer across 3 maps. Bazaar, the map set in Old Mombasa, Recharge, the map set in a hydroelectric plant, and Livefire, the map set on jams. As we learned from Joe Staten's section at the end of the article, bots in Infinite will feature 4 settings: Recruit, Marine, ODST, and Spartan, each increasing a bot's overall skill and ability. According to Mr. Staten, the flight will start the bots at lower difficulties and then slowly work people up to Spartan difficulty. In regards to weapon drills, players will be able to train with the MA-40 Assault Rifle, BR-75 Battle Rifle, MK-50 Sidekick, CQS-48 Bulldog, Needler, VK-78 Commando, S7 Sniper Rifle, Plasma Pistol, Pulse Carbine, Ravager, Heatwave, and the Skewer. The one weapon we haven't seen yet from this list is the Heatwave, which I think actually might be that one that disintegrated players in the multiplayer trailer. It appears again in an image that was included with this article. But anyway, the weapon drills will also feature scores for how well players do, allowing players to track their progress as they get used to the weaponry. From there, the article goes into some details on the Battle Pass and customization. The flight will feature a special Battle Pass with a variety of unlocks to give players an idea of how the final product will work. Players will also be given free in-game currency to unlock this customization. As a brief aside, the in-game currency is confirmed to be credits again, the system from Halo Reach. For anyone unfamiliar, this was an in-universe currency, and I'm glad to see it return. It's a small detail, but one that I always felt helped immerse me more in the game. But back to the article, the offerings for the Battle Pass represent a small slice of Infinite's full offering, so when the flight is here, don't read too much into what you see. The point is to test these systems out. This is a flight, not a demo after all. As the article comes to a close, 343 note that the first flight could happen as early as next weekend, though that isn't a guarantee. What is promised, however, is that 343 will host a live stream that will dive into the flight build and go over its various offerings in detail before the flight begins. And if you don't get into that first flight, fret not, as there are more to come, and 343 intends to get as many people in as possible as time goes on. The article wraps up with the usual tales from the trenches, a few statements from other parts of 343's dev team about the development process, and those final words from Joe Staten. In particular, Mr. Staten relates his first experience with Infinite's bots and how capable they were even just on ODST difficulty. Overall, I can't wait for this to start. The multiplayer preview looked great, and I am excited to experience Infinite myself. Moreover, I'm excited to see the menu systems and Battle Pass. I've never talked much about UI on this channel, but I am not a fan of Halo 5's menus. So as long as Halo Infinite is moving far away from that, I'll probably be happy. I'm also really excited to see just how much we can tailor the player experience, from key bindings to accessibility and more. But what about you all? What has you excited for the upcoming flight and Infinite overall? Let me know in those comments below. That's all for today. Stick around for the Patreon shoutout, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. First, I'd like to give a big thank you to our Harspis patrons. First, there's Hope, then we have Freight, SS Deco-chan, Discombobulated Sycophant, Justin Montgomery, Ada Frame, and Man in the Dark. Thank you all for your amazing support of the channel. Next, I'd like to thank our theoretical patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or get a direct shout out, check out patreon.com/HaloCanon. You can simply support the channel or get additional benefits such as behind the scenes materials, including raw audio for upcoming videos, or even shoutouts like this. All patrons now get early access to certain videos as well, and more benefits are to come. However, your continued viewership is more than enough for me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe even subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. If you really enjoy my stuff, turn on that notification bell so you can be among the first to see new videos when they release. But for all my fellow Canonites, keep on being awesome.